CG is going to be giving us a refund on Sith Assassin, and they are aware of the problems with Jedi Knight Anakin. Here in just the last little bit, I think I pretty much walked in the door from work, and they posted this on the forums. CG Eric has put out a nice little forum post talking about what's going on with Galaxy Heroes, Darth Malak, and some issues there. It's not been a very good week for CG. They had the whole controversy with Darth Malak and his event, the requirements, the release of him, Emperor Palpatine getting a nerf against Sith teams, which then also retroactively nerfed Sith Assassin and Darth Nihilus and some other characters. There's been quite a bit of controversy in the past week, and then you also have the problem where now Jedi Anakin is defeating Darth Malak. There's a lot to talk about, so let's start off with this forum post from CG Eric. With over 170 characters and 40 ships, Galaxy of Heroes has an incredible breadth of character interactions. While that makes for an interesting game, and despite thousands of man-hours of testing per release, it also presents a very difficult challenge in terms of not introducing interactions that create unintended and potentially game-breaking consequences, especially as new characters interact with characters that were built over 3 years ago. And I do see where they're going for here, but the problem is, some of the things that we're seeing lately are things that could have very easily been found if anybody had done some actual testing. Like the problem with Anakin right now under the Jedi Revan lead, that was very easy to figure out. All you do was throw Anakin under the best Jedi lead right now, and you will have figured out, hey, this is kind of a problem. And not to mention the stuff with Emperor Palpatine. I mean, that was something I had guessed beforehand, just seeing Darth Revan's kid. I was like, yeah, these debuffs are constantly going to be fading from a Darth Revan team. It's going to fuel turn meter like crazy on Emperor Palpatine. And sure enough, when Darth Revan came out, Emperor Palpatine was a very easy counter to Darth Revan. It was simple stuff like that that kind of makes you sit there and say, something's not quite right here with the testing. I think that their testing here has kind of been cut back a little bit, not doing as much as they can, because if you miss things as obvious as Emperor Palpatine and Anakin versus Darth Revan and Darth Malak teams, there's something that needs to be rearranged with your testing. Now, moving on to, they say that the reality is, as we had the opportunity to discuss with many of you at Celebration, within the first hour of a character going live, the community has eclipsed the total number of hours that we've been able to test, and many times over. Now that's pretty much true. I mean, the amount of people that play this game, yeah, you're going to be able to very quickly eclipse the amount of hours that people have tested, but even so, it still doesn't really forgive the fact that obvious things like Revan and Anakin and Palpatine, those should have been caught in testing very early on, and they weren't. None of this is an excuse, it's our job, and we will continue to work as hard as possible to ensure we minimize these issues as much as possible. There are a number of changes that we are considering making these testing processes. See Carrie's recent overtures about our intention to potentially expand our balancing process as something akin to a public test server, which I would totally be okay with that. I personally love to be on a public test server. I think there should be something like that because people can go in and basically say, hey, let's try this, and sure enough, it's going to be broken. I think their testing program right now just not big enough, or basically people just aren't doing a good job of testing. It's one of the two. I think it's probably more there's just not enough testers. But it goes on to talk about how their goal is to create around game-breaking bugs, and they never want to nerf characters if possible, but that's going to be a video for another time. I think that nerfs are going to have to happen at some point, talking about the state of the game, but that'll be a video for another time. And then it goes on to talk about how Galaxy of Heroes is a game about skillful resource management. Sure enough, it is. I mean, that's pretty much what the goal of the game is. You hoard your resources, you spend them wisely on certain characters. If you spend it on the wrong character, like Tuskens, you kind of wasted your time. So it is about resource management, and if you spend more money on the game, you're going to have more resources. That's the way free-to-play games are. It favors people who spend money. That is the whole purpose of a free-to-play game. Now, this brings into the discussion of Sith Assassin, and this was the first big thing they brought up here. With Sith Assassin, she is currently useless if Darth Malak is on the opposing team. She can't do her turn meter boost, and it's caused a big problem. And it even goes back to when they talked about the synergies about Darth Revan. You can see right here, Sith Assassin is listed as one of the best synergy characters for Darth Revan, and that was great because she allowed you to, counter the fact that you're fighting with a slower Darth Revan. It's allowed you to gain advantage. And unfortunately, with the introduction of Darth Malak, she will no longer be able to give your team boosts to turn meter if you are facing against him. So it kind of made her useless, and a lot of people weren't happy about that, as they rightfully should have been. The fact that you're investing Gear 12 Plus into Sith Assassin. I mean, I have Gear 12 Plus on my Sith Assassin, and I mean, I would pretty much love to get some of that gear back because, I mean, yeah, she's great, she's cool, but I'm never going to be able to use her anymore because, you know, there's no point to it. I mean, I can't use her specials. In fact, once I heard about Darth Revan, I pretty much threw the 2 Gear 12 Plus pieces on her. I would love to have those back because I can use them on other characters that I'll actually be able to use. So that is the big problem, and I'm happy to see they're going to be refunding it. However, there is a caveat to the refunding of gear on Sith Assassin. You must have Darth Revan, and any gear pieces apply to Sith Assassin following the announcement of Darth Revan on March 20th. So pretty much, you have to have Revan, and you had to put gear on her after the announcement of Darth Revan. If you meet those 2 requirements, then you will have a gear refund on Sith Assassin. If you didn't, if you put gear on her before then, if you had an inkling that Darth Revan was coming, you smartly geared up Sith Assassin, unfortunately, that is not going to be in your favor, and you will not be able to get the gear refund on her. So we are pretty much going to get a gear refund. This is something people have been asking for. Thank you, CG, for listening to people and actually doing this. This is very big and very monumental, and I do like that they are listening to people's complaints and actually refunding stuff here. So props to CG on that at least. That's good on them. Additionally, we've been monitoring the forums and Reddits and noticed the performance of Jedi Knight Anakin relative to some Darth Malak teams. This has become the new thing, and this is... I'm very torn on this. I mean, I have Darth Malak, and I know that's going to influence my opinion one way or another. I have to acknowledge that. I'll have some bias there because I have Darth Malak, and I use him in my Darth Revan team. But let me just read this. Additionally, we've been monitoring the forums. We only have a limited number of cases to evaluate, but we are reviewing data as it comes in. Our intention is that Jedi Knight Anakin should not perform Darth Malak. They're not saying they're going to nerf Jedi Knight Anakin, but that's about as close as a confirmation as you're going to get right now. I would put money down on Anakin getting some kind of nerf or change to his mechanics, and I'll give some ideas for that here in a moment. But I do think that the fact that you can just throw all this offense on Anakin, throw him under a Jedi Knight Revan lead, and wait till someone on your team gets killed or die or takes damage, that I don't think is really something that should be easily countering Darth Malak. And you know, people are saying, well, if you have a 7-star Darth Malak, it doesn't work as well. How many people have 7-star Darth Malaks? I mean, how many people really hoarded up that currency and were able to get Darth Malak 7 stars right away? I do think that Anakin should not be doing this well against Darth Malak, but at the same time, I do not want to see a nerf to Anakin. I don't want his damage going away. I love it. I absolutely love this trio rework. I love what they've done with Ahsoka, General Kenobi, and Anakin. I love that they give him this really nice synergy. Ahsoka is this really awesome character now with a rework. She's fantastic. I have her Zeta, and I'm loving it. I do not want to see Anakin get nerfed. I do want to see his mechanics get changed, and we'll actually talk about that right now. Let me pull up Anakin, just so you guys, and for those of you who don't know what's going on with Anakin, allow me to explain. It's his unique Righteous Fury, and the problem here is that whenever an ally falls below 50% health or is defeated, he takes a bonus turn, and his next attack deals 100% more damage. Now, it was changed from 75% to 100% bonus damage, and overall that wasn't too bad, but the problem was, I think they also jacked up his power and his damage a little bit too, so his AoE against a team running Ferocity that has like no defense on it, it's pretty much critting them for like 70, 80, even 90k, and that is the big problem, is that his AoE damage against a Darth Revan team, it's doing too much, and it's instantly one-shotting the entire team, and that is a big problem, and that I think is what they're not really happy about. So I do think that they will probably nerf the amount of damage he gets from this, but my suggestion for changing Righteous Fury is not getting rid of the damage, but changing how he gets the bonus damage and the bonus turn. Change it from whenever another ally is defeated to any Galactic Republic ally. So right now with these Jedi Knight Revan teams, you're not running any Galactic Republic characters except for Grandmaster Yoda. But that is the big problem, is that it's any ally, and, you know, Jedi Knight Revan goes down pretty quickly because of Death Mark, so this fuels the damage on Anakin with his Righteous Fury. If you change that mechanic to Galactic Republic, he still keeps the bonus damage, and it also makes him so much better for Galactic Republic factions. It means that you can really use him there, and allows him to be a much better character for those factions instead of using him in like a plug-and-play situation on XYZ team. Really, at this point, I think restricting that Righteous Fury to just Galactic Republic allies, that would be my starting position. I think I would start that there. Instead of going overboard and cutting his bonus damage to like 50 or 25%, I'd start with a small increment like restricting to Galactic Republic allies, and then slowly adjust it from there if needed. I think going overboard and overreacting is what got us into this problem in the first place, i.e. look at the Emperor Palpatine thing, where the nerf with that, where now pretty much any Sith can gain bonus turn meter if Darth Malik's on the field. It's pretty much, you don't want to go overboard, and that is the big problem. And that's why I want to stress here is that it's much better to use small increments and slowly test things and see how it's going to work instead of just doing this massive overreaction. We just had that with Emperor Palpatine, and look how pissed people are. So that is my thoughts on this forum post talking about the gear refund. I'm super glad to see that I'm going to be getting some Gear 12 Plus pieces back probably. I think I geared her up after the announcement. I may have done it before. Either way, if I don't get it back, cool. If I do get it back, awesome. But I do think, and I do caution, that CG takes its time with Anakin and slowly considers it, because right now, with the state of Galaxy Heroes, I don't think it's a good idea to go overboard and do a massive nerf to Anakin and piss off a lot more people. But a lot of people are already pissed off, as they should be with everything going on here. And you know, the gear refund on Sith Assassin is going to placate some people, but the prospect of a nerf on Anakin has a lot of people nervous and a lot of people unhappy. So those are my thoughts for this video, guys. Let me know down in the comments, what do you guys think? Are you happy to get your gear back on Sith Assassin? What do you think about a possibility of a nerf on Jedi Knight Anakin? Let me know down in the comments. As always, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. I will talk to you guys later.